good morning. I'm Marcia Collins-Moroz. I am the current chair of CGBN's webinar series that you are now a part of today. Keep in mind this is recorded. What is nice about that is you'll be able to revisit it. I'm also joined by many of our board members and my vice chair, Getty Greer. So our disclaimer, many of the persons listening or watching this webinar may be direct competitors in the real estate brokerage business. Therefore, to avoid any liability under the federal or state antitrust laws, any discussion of competitive business practices and/or the amounts of fees and/or commissions charged or to be charged by real estate brokerage companies to their customers or clients and/or compensation and/or splits paid or to be paid by brokerage companies to other brokerage companies is strictly prohibited. It is NICAR's policy that it will not entertain any discussion that creates the potential of a violation of federal or state antitrust laws at any meeting, podcast, or conference sanctioned or sponsored by NICAR. So with that out of the way, and very important that we did give you that information, I'd like to take just a quick minute to tell you a little bit about our presenter today, or our guest. I'll refer to him more as a guest because, as we mentioned, it's going to be a more casual conversation. Alex Escudero is a global real estate strategist with more than 20 years of experience advising organizations operating across international markets. Over the past decade, he has helped lead the global strategy of the National Association of Realtors, the largest real estate association in the world, including 5 years as Director of Global Strategy, where he played a key role in strengthening the organization's international footprint and institutional relationships across more than 70 countries. Throughout his career, Alex has worked at the intersection of global expansion, institutional partnerships, and cross-border business development, advising real estate organizations, navigating new markets, and international growth opportunities. Welcome, my dear friend Alex. We are so happy to have you here. I'm just going to close out all my little cheat sheet windows so I can see you big and bold. I'd like to start by, I just gave you that brief introduction of Alex, but here's what I find most interesting. You know, if you want somebody who has a heart for the business, the organization, look for somebody who started at the more entry levels, right? I mean, I think about I don't know if you are experienced with the general manager at Hyatt Corporation. He started off as a dishwasher at Hyatt and moved up and moved up and moved up. But you know what? That man knew every role, every position, and he could relate to everybody along the way. And Alex, his first job actually involving real estate was an event planner for SEMA, which is the Latin American Real Estate Confederation. By the way, that is no small task because that membership currently is at 700,000 members across 18 countries. So that was a big deal. And slowly, through his connections, he's so congenial. He was introduced to the possibility and opportunity of joining NAR, and that's where we'll begin our story today. So, Alex, was that a basic? Was that correct? Did I miss any step there in how it all began?
No, you good. I'm only gonna make one correction. I started off at SEMA, SIMA.
I didn't say SEMA. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, it's easy to get mixed up because the confederation that you alluded to is SILA, Confederación Inmobiliaria de Latinoamérica. I actually did start in Madrid, Spain, working for SIMA, which is the Madrid International Real Estate Exhibition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Oh, no. By the way, and first and foremost, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. A huge honor for me to be here. I very much appreciate the invitation. I wanted, and I actually made a note not to forget about that this morning. I wanted to give big kudos to this group for having been the recipient of NAR's Global Achievement Program as a gold for 2 years in a row. And the reason I thought about it this morning is because I vividly remember that last year as I was closing the chapter, this was one of the last applications that I was able to assess. And I was particularly happy because I know all the effort that goes behind the scenes to bring each and every one of these activities live. I know all the effort that it takes to build a global community around about the commercial global business network, in coordination with NASBAR and everybody that plays a role here. So I'm very, very excited. And first and foremost, congrats on that. I was looking as you were introducing me to the list of participants. I know that, I mean, I've seen Antonio. Who doesn't know Antonio, right?
Who doesn't know Antonio?
I see a lot of different people from other boards as well. And that says a lot about the collaborative environment that you guys have created. And I feel like that is the biggest and the most important asset that this group particularly has. And I think we're going to talk a lot about trust and about relationships today. So seeing that makes me really feel at home.
Thank you for that. And you're right. I think that so much of the time we were so busy playing our cards close to the chest, or the vest, as they say, that we were missing opportunities, because those collaborations are what bring about the deals. And at the end of the day, everyone on this call today, most of them are commercial brokers, or involved at some level, like yourself as a global advisor now, to helping groups and individuals strategize to create those actual deals that will come across once you have that connection, right? And let's talk about that a little bit, about those connections. So because of your vast experience, that decades-long experience with NAR, you traveled the globe. I can't imagine that out of the 70 countries that we're, as realtors, that we're attached through our global initiatives, that you've missed many of them. I suspect you've been to most. Is that correct?
Well, that was a big part of what I did, what I had the honor of doing as serving as global director for NAR. I was very lucky to build a lot of these trusted and curated relationships in many of these specific markets. And that is one of the things that I treasure the most. And that was actually one of the reasons why I decided to start this new venture. I thought it was the right time for the right chapter, having given my all at the institutional level with NAR, which I couldn't be more thankful for. But I thought it was that right time where you realize that this is a chapter that, in a way, if I put a timeline of my career within the business, which, as you very well said, started at CIMA from a very different angle, which at the end of the day, I think brings a very unique perspective as well. This is a very good and natural continuation of that, but now, this time, a lot closer to execution than just global strategy. Yeah. So I think, and this is one of the things that I've realized, and I hope a lot of you agree on this one. One of the biggest challenges that I saw and that I could perceive while chatting with many of you, while chatting with a lot of the key stakeholders within global real estate that I was able to meet through this wonderful chapter, was that the problem wasn't so much about defining what the global strategy is, but about actually executing it.
That's right.
About bringing it to the ground.
That's where the void is.
That's exactly right. Mm-hmm. So today, in a nutshell, what I find myself is, like you mentioned, helping companies do exactly that. Basically, connect with the right people. That's one of the reasons why I love being in this type of environment, in this type of webinar, of educational activity, because that's what the key players are. Yeah. Entering the right markets and turning, at the end of the day, the most important thing, as you all know, is turn those global conversations into real business. Into real deals. We all know how to create a very nice slide deck that talks about global strategy, that talks about all these ambitions. But and that's great. That's great. But I want to see myself as somebody that's able to help companies accelerate decisions by translating that information and that wonderful ambition into actual results. That's where I see myself sitting at.
You make me think about all of these wonderful certifications and referral networks we may belong to, and you'll a shout out, hey, do you have anybody in San Antonio? Do you have anybody in Madrid? Do you have anybody in Munich? And somebody, oh yeah, this person, that person. Unless you're ushering somebody into that door, unless that warm relationship, unless the Alex of the world makes that connection for me, that solid connection, that's likely to go nowhere. And I don't know about most of you on this call, but I'm going to confess to something right now. I'm not even embarrassed. I have over 20,000 emails sitting in my inbox right now. I get about 500 a day right now. I haven't even taken the time to hit unsubscribe to get rid of a lot of those repeats that make me crazy. So how quickly those deals never come to fruition because they don't have that care and that missing link, and that's where you come in. I see that so clearly with your company, what you can do for people, especially in the Spanish-speaking market. Holy cow!
Yeah, that's definitely an area that's close to my heart. Obviously, for language reasons, I've been able to develop great and deep friendships in Latin America and obviously Spain, where I come from. But to your point, Marsha, and I couldn't agree more. Like I was saying, I think global strategy is all about having the right local execution, and the way you do that is by having these curated relationships in those markets. Somebody told me, I remember a few months ago, they said this thing about it's so important, even more so than having that global strategy and that vision, to know who is carrying your flag locally. That's, to me, absolutely the key. It's not so much about market selection, that plays a role, but it's about helping identify who is going to be able to carry that local flag. Because at the end of the day, too, let's not forget that, and this is something that I've seen a lot through the years, particularly dealing with a lot of American investors and some American professionals. You don't enter markets in a way that you're conquering markets. You are, let's not forget that we are invited into markets, and the way you're invited into markets and who invites you is the most important thing. Who you are there through is way more important than any strategy. So that's why I keep talking about local execution, being obsessed with not belonging to 300 different networks, paying 300 different dues to 300 different groups, but to actually making sure that you are developing and nurturing those relationships. Because at the end of the day, that is the biggest asset and the biggest infrastructure you have is your relationships. And you all know that. I mean, you are realtors. You're 90% your relationships.
I think that for many people, just getting into this realm, the world is your oyster, but it also can be your downfall because you can't take on the world. And when you said conquer, when we had this conversation yesterday, I thought about something. I was just in Rome recently, and I was very apologetic that I was from America, because we don't have a really good, those of you that don't agree with this, I apologize, but this was my own personal experience, and I felt that I had to come at it very humbly and say, I'm not here to conquer in so many words, because it's kind of what we're being known for right now around the world. And that is not how we don't want to be the ugly American that they always say you can hear the American before they even come into the room, right? So that cultural, those cultural missteps, after you've made these great connections and you've said, okay, and usher us in and say, okay, here's your group, here are your people, Marsha, you should speak to. Better make sure that I'm speaking to them correctly, that I understand the cultural nuances. Would you agree with that?
I think, Marsha, well, not only you are right, but that is one thing that I always also point out. And again, I'm happy I'm talking to people that understand how this works, because to me, it's not so much about, a lot of people talk about or think about this topic as, oh my God, do we have demand? Is there, the demand is always going to be there. There's always the demand. I mean, you can all think about all the capital that's looking into different opportunities. That's always going to be there. I feel like the real challenge, and cultural is one of the biggest, and you just mentioned that, is translation. But not translation in a language term, but translation, like translate that opportunity into, a legal system. What are the business practices and the culture? Like, I wouldn't attempt to send somebody to, I'm going to use Antonio, I'm going to pick on Antonio as he's here, to Portugal without prior to that being informed that I have somebody that can be a good partner for me, somebody that can help me translate how are deals structured, how is trust built. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of CIPSs here, like, high context versus low context. You see a lot of deals fall through the cracks, not because there's no opportunity, but because, say, an American investor goes into Spain, real case. They feel like everything's good, the numbers make sense, let's go. Well, the Spaniards are excited about the opportunity, but they're thinking about, well, let's get to know one another a little better. Let's start building the trust. And the US person might think, well, this is going really slow, while the Spanish is thinking, wow, this is being very aggressive.
Too fast, right?
It's I think it's not a lack of opportunity most of the times. It's a misalignment, if that's even a word. No, lack of alignment between those two cultures, those two people getting together, and that's part of where I'm trying to help as well, not just through my personal connections, but through understanding all these different cultures, through understanding, like, after 10 years in the US, one of the biggest blessings is having spent every day basically engaging with realtors and US-based people, because now I understand a lot better how business is thought of here in the US. Even when it comes to my personal, I've been able to buy and sell twice here, and my wife's an American, come from Europe. My wife's all about, boom, numbers make sense, let's get this done. I was like, no, wait a second. I need to see 3 Excels. You are going to have to sell me real hard on why it makes sense to buy a property when we just closed on one 2 years ago. Well, I always, it's those little, this is a stupid example, but it's to show you how, culturally speaking, it's so important to be aware of those differences.
Right. One thinks with the head in that case, the other's thinking with the heart. I've always wanted a property in this place. And so Shirley Boyd, who you know from FIAPSI, of course, which, by the way, those of you who know me know that I'm a big, I'm very passionate about FIAPSI, very involved. So Alex was he was our representative. Actually, he was on the board of directors for NAR, and now he is one of our members as well. So he thought enough about FIAPSI and what they could offer. I started to tell you that Shirley wrote, it's about relationships versus being transaction focused, and absolutely right. And that's what we get out of FIAPSI. But so I segued quickly to mention FIAPSI because she is the current U.S. president, about to step off of her seat when we go to the UN later this week. But Alex, have you found that to be a good connecting point, your time at FIAPSI, both as NAR and now as a member in good standing as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to lie. When I was there as an NAR representative on the board, it took me a while to figure out the organization, but the same way that it can take a while for somebody to figure out NAR, right? Like, it's these big networks with their very specific value proposition. So what I did is spend a lot of time not only learning about the institution, but surrounding myself by those that I thought of as mentors for that particular network. And that really, really, really helped me translate what FIAPSI was for me as an AR. And that's why I know exactly what's the value it brings to me as a member at large right now, as a consultant, not as a practitioner. And I'll tell you, every time I go to a FIAPSI event, I know exactly who are the 2 or 3 people that I am going to go to dinner with, that I'm gonna separate 1 or 2 hours because they're like absolute like the vast knowledge they have about the organization adds so much value. So you have to be very intentional. That's my point. Like not just be a member in good standing of that organization, not just be able to interact with the organization as a whole and use it for your own promotion, which is a great thing. And that's why that's a big part of why people belong to these networks, but understand who are the folks within those circles that can truly help you better understand what you're in that network for.
Right, and help you move the needle. I always say that FIAPSI has offered me a seat at a table and to be able to walk into rooms that I may not have ordinarily been invited into, much less the seat at the table. So I appreciate you taking a minute. So this is not a FIAPSI focused event, guys, but I just wanted to make sure that we did discuss that because both Alex and I do believe there's a strong correlation to those higher level connections that you'll need when you want to do this global business. And basically what you just described, that mentorship type of a opportunity that you have with these incredible people, that's what you've been, and that's what you're offering through your advisory now in a little different way. Go ahead.
Marcia, sorry to interrupt. One thing I wanted
please.
to say too, and you're a great example there, and I see again so many other great case studies among the audience, is what you want out of these networks and out of these specific like association, institution / entity engagements is to try and create find your niche and try create repeatable like business corridors, if you will. Like this is not one of the, like you're not in FIAPSI, or you don't become an international realtor member because you were in business overnight. If that is the case, well, unfortunately, you're not gonna be very pleased. This is a work in progress, and if you're in these groups for a one-off deal, that's not gonna be scalable. So I feel like once you understand what your role is and what is your position within those networks, honestly, people underestimate how much easier is it to create the corridor market that you're going to be taking advantage of. I've seen so many times, and I find that fascinating after 10 years with NICAR, how every single time I've attended the NICAR Next conference and expo, and every event of NICAR, there's folks around the world who, the second they enter the US, they are, oh my God, that's their last name becomes their country. Oh, that's Adeni from Nigeria. And this is a stupid example.
It's true.
Oh my God, like Antonio with Portugal has a very interesting relationship there too. That is the most impressive personal brand building that I can see. And the beauty of it is not about, because sometimes people ask me, oh my God, so those type of folks probably don't want others to come over. No, it's the complete opposite. But it's about spending and investing your time and your money in becoming that go-to person. Because if there is something that I've learned here in the US as well, is realtors, I mean, you all love referrals. You are faithful to the clients that to the practitioners that have given your clients a good experience. Like it's all about trusted relationships. It's all about these very, very meaningful and curated relationships that are gonna pay off. But this doesn't happen overnight.
That's so true. So Ramona wanted to share with us that your network is your net worth, which we hear that, and it is a very true statement. You're correct in that, Ramona.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, audience, are you familiar with what Alex is offering now in his new role? And if not, Alex, do you want to go a little deeper into that? What is AER Global Advisory all about?
So, like I was mentioning earlier, Marcia, the way I see it, and in a nutshell, is a very natural continuation to the work that I've been doing on the institutional side. This time, though, it's a lot more focused on actual execution. So what we do is help real estate related stakeholders enter new markets, create their global strategy, providing this step-by-step execution that, like I was mentioning, is going to translate that ambition and that awesome like vision and goal into actual results. Yeah. The way we do that is, once again, it goes back to people ask me all the time, oh my God, are you using how like, what is the role that AI, what is the role that technology is playing? That, well, it does help me with research, but at the end of the day, you're worth what your phone list is worth. I mean, that is the most important thing. So working with a diverse array of clients, real estate developers who might start engaging with me just because they want to understand the US ecosystem. Yeah. It's as easy as that. I'm not there to sell any sort of like, oh my God, I'm gonna be that magic thing that's gonna help you translate this into sales tomorrow. Absolutely not. You need to understand the ecosystem. Who are the players? Who are the right ones that you want to engage with? And that's why I love to talk about reducing and trying to put away that noise, because there's a lot of that too. So you need to understand that it's not about just going global, which a lot of people now is like, oh yeah, global. It's about understanding how to really translate that into results. So removing the noise and making sure that the pathway to success for these real estate clients is the clearest possible.
So in your years previously as the director, and now as you moved into this new role, what do you think? I mean, I think we've already stated that the biggest challenge is to get people to focus in on what their mission is here, you know, and not to try to take on the world all in one point, you know, at one bite, right? And not to try to conquer. What else do you see as most challenging that, and I know that you are there to fill that gap, because there is a big gap between I want to do global and how do I do global, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we know that there's CIPSs and all that. We get that. But then there's actual execution. So what do you see as the biggest?
So speaking of execution, one thing that I'm seeing a lot, particularly with some consulting engagements that I've had in the last 2 months, is people are too worried about entering markets and what are the markets I need to enter, but they don't really necessarily think about the operational part of it. So this product curation, for example, like, do you have to adapt some of what you're already selling, or do you have to tropicalize that value proposition of yours to enter into a different market? What does the client experience look like? Like, people, if you don't, as people say, if you don't control the landing, you don't control the outcome, right? So I see that a lot. Another thing that I've been seeing quite a bit is that you gotta be very strategic about what does going global mean in terms of markets. Mm-hmm. Like, people want to enter the US market. I've seen this with real estate developers and a ton of tech companies, which I'm also working for a few of them. When I enter the US market, what do you mean by the US market? What US market do you want to enter? Because the US
are the 50 states.
Exactly. You gotta, plus the territory. So you gotta understand, like, okay, what are your goals? What US market you want to enter? Because the way things work in a state might very, very, very much differ from the way real estate works in a different one. So being very specific, being very, very, very strategic, and be able to narrow it down to exactly what do you mean by, I guess, push back against this like thought of like, oh, global is like this, I want to be everywhere. Be very selective, be very, very smart. Is there any cultural, like, natural affinity, especially when it comes to US LATAM, which I'm engaging with all the time? Is like, okay, let's think about is there natural business corridor there? Is there something that we can link to that particular country? What are the local trusted partners we can find in that specific country? Like understanding that before, it's not about going global for the sake of going global, but having that, like, you're not speculating, you're creating that strategy that's going to translate into results.
Yeah. I think crawl, walk, run. I was with Jeff Lasky the other day from NASBAR, and they're developing a new program there. And he said, we've got to institute the crawl, walk, run, which is so true. When we started, some of you weren't yet on the call, but we were discussing Mexico as an example. And that when you go to Mexico so many times, and again, because this licensing has come about, I think some of this may stop, I'm not sure, but you'll pull up to a development, and you'll see at a minimum 20, sometimes 50, it's littered with signs of every real estate company imaginable out there. And I just think it's a lot like what we're seeing now on the internet. I have a hotel in Hawaii. I have a hotel in Mexico. I have a hotel in Spain. How can you, one person, have, you can't. It's not possible. And you don't have the expertise in all these countries. It's truly not possible. So who are you speaking to at that point? And maybe I'm old-fashioned in that respect, and I'm very organic in my approach. But get into your market, dig in deep, and be there. And look, when you're ready to explore other markets, look to hire the Alexes of the world to help you figure out if that's the right move and if there's a way to do it strategically. Would you agree with those statements?
Not only do I agree, but also, Marsha, to that same point, information is way more accessible these days than it's ever been. Once again, we all are currently able to go into a bunch of like AI-powered tools and find information about a particular market, about a particular segment within a market that you or your clients are interested in. But I feel like access to the right partners, the right local players, the ones that actually help move the needle, to follow I love that expression you used, that's way more important than information. Because again, information is fairly accessible these days. I don't think that's an issue.
To your point, fairly accessible, but we don't even know if it's correct information, because as we've learned, when AI doesn't have the answers, it just makes it up for you, and we don't need that. I mean, God help us. Something interesting that Antonio just pointed out when we talk about these relationships and why that's so important, he just sent a referral fee to a broker that he connected with 7 years ago. So how important it is to keep those relationships strong and moving forward, right? Letting people know you're there and you care. I think that's huge. I also
100%.
think, yeah. And as far as, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
So yes, you can find you can research a lot of this for your clients, but in my opinion, your best source are your boots on the ground, the people that are embedded in that area and in that market day in and day out. Because otherwise, there are times when looking at something from 30,000 feet, it works, but not when at the end of the day, these are dollars that connect back to somebody. It's kind of like commodities. At some point, that truck of oranges did connect back to somebody that's sitting there rotting somewhere because it didn't get sold again and resold. And sometimes we don't take it down to that granular, that's a hard word to say for me, level that it is relationships, but it's the people at the end of the day. Corporations, there's still somebody at the end of that line that has to be accountable, right, to those shareholders and stakeholders. Yeah.
One thing that I've seen over the years, and now I'm experiencing that from a different perspective. Once again, now as a consultant, not so much on the institutional side, is that a lot of players, and these are like mostly developers in commercial real estate and residential real estate, is that they tell me that they've had bad experiences going to several countries, and they're they've become a little averse to that like whole internationalization part. But what you notice is that once you understand who they've been dealing with locally, who they have selected as their partners, you're like, oh my God, I mean, this deal was already killed from the get-go. Like when you don't have the right partner locally, deal doesn't fall in the negotiation phase. It's fallen way before when you decided to go with that partner because you didn't do the vetting, you didn't do any curation of who that partner is. So that's why I relate to what you say about being able to identify who those key players are and who are the ones that are really the professionals you want to work with in those markets. And that, going back to NAR, FIAPS, and all that, I feel like these type of institutions, they do provide a great filter for people that not only are good professionals, but that also invest their time and their money in belonging to these groups. That's already, believe it or not, but that's already separating them from a lot of other professionals.
Yeah. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you can, hit a few pitfalls, right? And I won't name names or what country, but I had to go to the president of a country's association to get paid on a deal after I thought I was doing business with somebody that was very reputable, that has all the same letters after their names as I do, and involved in the same organizations. There's still no guarantee, but you have your best shot at that if you're connecting with the Antonios of the world. And I'm trying to see who else is on here that I should be calling out. Antonio, we love you, but we got to call out a few more of these folks. Let's see who else we have on here today that he's giddy with excitement that we keep mentioning his name there. But Nora, who's on with us. Yeah. And of course, we've got Yodi, who I adore, and she's all over the place right now too, aren't you? It's just incredible when I look at this list of names that we've got involved today. Katarina, Shirley, who's big these days, doing a lot, or has been connecting quite a bit on the African continent. Shirley, you want to unmute and talk a little bit about your experiences as of late? I just put her on the spot, and I know she's thinking, oh, Marcia, why'd you do this to me? Shirley, I'll buy you lunch when I see you. She's not unmuting. Oh, my goodness. Well, Shirley, when you feel like you're comfortable.
Sorry, I'm having technical issues. I'm having technical issues today. That's why.
Oh, darling. So good to hear your voice. Yeah. Let's talk about what you've been building with your connections in Africa.
Oh my goodness. Anyone who knows me know that I am so bullish on Africa, and I've been there several times, and the folks, the professionals that I've met from Africa, and I met them through FIAPSI. It's just, anyone who knows me know what I say. You have to if you want to be global, you have to be global. You have to go get your passport, get out there. I mean, you make connections and you learn things, and you learn people that you can't do on Google. It just can't be done.
No, you can't. And to Alex's point, yeah, there's that one-off that you could do this and connect, I suppose, from a phone call, an email, a text, but you're not going to build that lasting business that you're trying to create unless you got to get on the planes and the trains, and you got to go. You've got to make those connections.
And have lunch and have dinner and talk about families. It's relationships.
Yeah.
It's not like the U.S. It's not transactional.
Yeah. By the way, Alex has 3 little girls, and they all love donuts. We found out the other day. But you know what? It's humanizing us, and it makes us want to work together, right? It makes us want to be in the same room as each other, and we do learn from one another, which I appreciate so much. So, anybody else want to unmute? And
yeah,
Alex,
please, to your point, not so much about the donuts, which I also am a big fan of donuts, Marcia. But I told this to Ramona. I'm saying that now that I know Diana is also here, like, to me, I have never thought about this, but what a privilege it is to be in a Chicago suburb where I have this type of incredible professional realtor related organizations in my backyard. Like that is something that to me, I hadn't even thought about it during my years at NAR because I was obviously very focused on the mothership, right? But like at the end of the day, what I love about these groups is that, I mean, we always say that, global is local.
Yeah.
That's where the real relationships are happening. This is where you build your network. And to me, even not as a real estate practitioner, but it's great to have that perspective. It's great to understand that a lot of the clients that I might be working with might have a great opportunity to be exposed to people from Main Street, people from NASBAR, NICAR. Like there's a lot of commercial players outside of the US that are willing to enter into opportunities here. Well, I see Bill, I see all these great people, Dimitro, like all these people that give their best and their all to the commercial real estate so close to me. I definitely want to leverage that. So I just wanted to say that as a realization that might seem very obvious, but to me it's been like, wow, Alex, you really have to make a much bigger effort in connecting with the realtor community within Chicago itself and the Chicagoland. So that's been great. That's been great to me, and I'll be bothering you all a lot.
Well, and we welcome it because we hold you in such high regard, and you deserve all the praise that we can possibly bestow upon you because you did make this possible for so many of us. But there's also a lot of people here that are just beginning their global journey. So it's important for them to understand that these relationships are. You can create these relationships, at least in the beginning, until you can get on those planes. And Alex, I hope we can have you back often, and you'll come to our in-person events as well for all these different organizations. I actually belong to 2 local associations because I see the benefits there. But I will also tell you that for the first 27 years of my career, I had no idea what they did on Michigan Avenue, nor did I care. I just knew that I had to pay you, and I was not happy about that, quite frankly. But once I got exposed and saw what was going on and saw by giving back, by giving first, how much more I got back. Huge. And
also, Marsha, especially for the newer ones to this world, I mean, think about it, and it might take a second for it to click, but like between the staff, and not only talking about this call, but this call in particular, between the Realtor Association staff you have here, the potential mentors you have on the space, like the Marshas, the Ahmed. I mean,
oh yeah, look at Ahmed.
Hello, Ahmed Badat. Like you got a good number of people that not only have engaged extremely successfully at the state and local level, but they've made it to the highest level at the national level as well on the global scene. So, I mean, leverage those connections. Be close to them. Be willing to learn it all from them, because that's one thing that I love about realtors. You guys love to share. You guys love to share the recipes of success. That is one of the things that I have appreciated the most about being on stages around the world with realtors. I actually prefer that a lot better than just doing a standalone, just because not only you learn from them, but you guys are the subject matter experts when it comes to a transaction. So we've always had this very good connection between staff and volunteers, and especially for those new ones, again, look around the virtual room and identify which are those members of the organization, whether it's the Commercial Global Business Network, whether it's NICAR, NASBAR, Main Street, whichever, but find who's the one that you're going to have as that lighthouse. I feel like that has been extremely useful for me on the association side, and I am sure it will be extremely beneficial for your global careers as well.
Oh, absolutely. I see that Antonio, go ahead and put your hand down and tell us what you'd like to share, please.
No, first, beauty before age. It's Ahmed. Hey, Ahmed.
Oh, oh sorry, Ahmed. I didn't see your hand. Oh, my friend. Ahmed,
go ahead, Antonio.
Go ahead.
Oh, beauty before age, buddy. You know.
Oh, look, I've got 3. I'm so excited. Okay, it's going to be Ahmed, and then Antonio, and then Bill to follow up. Please go ahead, Ahmed.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Great conversation. Thank you, Masha, for hosting. And Alex, as always, love the excellent information. So, the term information, as you mentioned, it's global, it's available. People sitting, and one of the things that come to mind. So you remember that trip we made you couldn't join us, but to South Africa.
I do.
Yeah. So when we got back, there was this big news that happened, and it was splashed all over. I get a call on a Sunday from one of our partners in South Africa because the headline is the New York Times. Now, this is one of the point I'm trying to make. Because news is available globally, our partners had this news before we could even get up on a Sunday morning and read about it. And it was kind of a, wake-up call. Mm-hmm. I mean, NAR has addressed this. Going into the future, we want to be there at the table. We want to address these things. So we're going to be out there in the front. That was a real wake-up call. Number two, when we travel, let's have information about the organization we represent. I remember visiting Dubai as a global ambassador, and at that time as a PL, President's Liaison. But I got an invitation from Thomson Reuters to a financial conference. I don't know how they got my name on there, but I remember sitting at during lunchtime, and there were all these guys around me were, sovereign fund managers and all kinds of stuff. And so they passed us cards around. I passed my NAR card. So suddenly, the conversation, I become part of the conversation. Who's NAR? Who's National Association? So you've got to have that information, who you're representing, what it's all about, know a little facts about this, history about the organization. But I was prepared because, people like you prepare us when we become global ambassadors or president's liaison. And so it's an interesting conversation. I'm not in their class of the monies they represent and that they're talking about, but NAR is, so it becomes a viable conversation. The other thing was, and this has always been, it's a two-way street. We have information. We're a very well-established organization, but it's a two-way street when it comes to learning. And a good example, Alex, you remember the Ream Foundation with AISA? That was the first time an organization developed their own program, and they brought it to Ream and they said, hey, this is for folks who were previously disadvantaged, and they want to now become entrepreneurs, have their own little brokerages, and NAR, the board of directors of Ream were really impressed. So now, you got this. It has to be a two-way. So thank you. I enjoyed, we had a great working relationship. So I appreciate everything you've done, Alex, and we'll continue to work together.
Those are all terrific comments. We're getting close to the end, and now we've got three other hands up.
Okay, I'm done.
But Ahmed, to your point, I think NAR should be hiring Alex to do some of their strategizing now, because they certainly need someone outside of the organization. It's getting, at times, it's a little too focused, but please, that's just my own opinion. It's not NICAR nor any of the other organizations. I think up next was Antonio. You want to go ahead, please? And
Sure,
then Bill and then Nora.
I'll make it short and sweet. Hello, everyone. Thanks, Marcia and Ramon, everyone putting it together. Mi hermano, Alejandro. Enhorabuena.
Obrigado.
And so, just to add on to pretty much what everybody's saying, I think it's important that when you have these webinars and many different, whether it's, here and this organization or that organization or Real Estate Pros Without Borders or this or that, it's a matter of showing up, being a familiar face, and people. That's where you build the trust and relationships. And without that happening and going global, I remember not so long ago, we've pretty much focused locally and we're doing well. We did some global, but it went to the stratosphere with NAR, okay, with other organizations, where we organize events where we have realtors for years now coming here, setting up things, doing business, because you are a familiar face, you're a trusted voice. But I remember when we made the leap with NAR specifically with CIPS, okay? And so I'm very thankful to all those organizations, because really they brought our business to a different level, at a stratospheric level. I mean, really, and it really is. And when we go with the brand anywhere in the world, we're highly respected. I remember here in Georgia, Loyal International Guest Award, at the Georgia National Association of Realtors. And so these are things, like I met some real powerhouse, and you want to emulate them. I think you don't know what you don't know until you know people. And it really is true. I think I went to the next level being around these professionals. I had no clue what a realtor was. Maybe I was always a realtor at heart, and ethics and everything else. But the family behind and the global behind, Alex, great job. I mean, with all the years that I've known you here, and I remember the first webinar, you were doing something in Peru or Colombia. This was like 7 years ago, brother, right? I mean, these are the things. So anyway, I'll keep it there, but it really is. You have to be a part and really contribute. And that's how you get business. And it's not about the business, because if you're going to call me about talking about real estate, you're going to bore me to death. Talk to me about food or wine. We could do business. But as Alejandro says, you learn. Let's get to know each other a little bit better. Maybe I don't want to, we can romance, before we get down to the nitty gritty. I want to know who you are, right, Alejandro? Foreplay, a lot of foreplay.
Hey, don't give me any excuses to go visit your beautiful country, Antonio.
Thank you so much, Antonio. And Bill, I believe you're up next.
Okay, I just want to follow up. This is a little bit of maybe a recap, in that in 2016, when I went to Washington as president of NICAR, I met a lot of people in global, residential, and there wasn't a lot of global commercial. And I saw that as a huge vacuum. I came back and I started this organization, Commercial Global Business Network, and registered with NAR. And my intention at that time was to develop relationships. And that word has been used over and over and over again. And I said that this organization will survive as long as we create value. And we create value by execution, okay? And not talking your word, but being your word, and looking at the results, of what is happening. And I'm so proud of the people here today, and the growth and the evolution that's happening in this area. It's kind of like a bank account, you can't make withdrawals from your bank account unless you are making deposits. All right. And in relationships, the more deposits you make, the more withdrawals that you will get. And then you get interest on your money. The interest on your money is this kind of thing, people coming to you for referrals or advice. So I really appreciate, Alex, you've helped us many times along this journey. I appreciate that. And I see a vacuum again with NAR pulling back, Illinois realtors pulling back from global. So that vacuum needs to be filled by these people here today. And I think your company, Alex, is very, very timely, because that vacuum needs to be filled. And you can help me, we'll talk offline, but I had to look up a friend I met, Joan Vitalia, from Barcelona, Spain, from Spinata, realtor. I met with him like 4 years in a row. He and I have the love of motorcycles, and he's a big industrial developer. I had tried to land him in Chicago. He landed somehow during COVID. He landed in Florida. So he's developing there. We've talked since. And I'm trying to get him to understand that he's missing out and with not being in this market in Chicago, with the largest inland port in the world. So we'll have a conversation. I don't know if you know Joan Vitale or not, but very interesting man.
I don't feel, but one thing I wanted to say, I give you a ton of credit for being one of the very first commercial practitioners that was thinking global way before this was a trend or was a thing, which to me it's never been a trend, but it's been seen as that. So I remember those years in 2016 meeting with you and Andy at a WeWork office downtown, like the way you were thinking about tying global and commercial together back then was truly a pioneer mindset, because now it's easy to say that, but back in the day, nobody was thinking about it. And I mean, translating a CIPS course, tropicalizing the information and making sure that it was also speaking to commercial practitioners. I give you a ton of credit on that. And I really do hope that that pays off for you and the larger community here, because it was very, very impressive. And believe me, at NICAR, we never took that for granted.
That's a good point, that if it wasn't for the fact that the bill was already thinking outside of the box, because it's all about education, right? And as I was saying at the beginning of this call, 27 years, I had no idea what they did out on Michigan Avenue, nor did I care. But when I was then educated to what was going on and how I could be a part of the story, and to that end, I have to thank Ahmed, Bill, and Dimitro for helping me step into this role to serve, because it's not only is it giving me the opportunity to make sure I can bring some of my connections forward, which I'm grateful to do, but it also helps elevate me. So we're all rising the boat, right? What do they say? It takes many hands to what is that expression? I don't know. Somebody knows it. Somebody will tell us what it is. But anyways, I just wanted to make sure that we called out the people here that really have been so instrumental. And of course, you, Alex, it goes without saying. So Nora, please go ahead. We need to give you a minute here, because we're a little over, but that's okay.
Real quick. Thank you, Marcia, for the space. Congratulations, Alex. It's always great to see you. Antonio, I'll be there soon. Well, just real quick, I'm thinking about moving back to Mexico in a couple of years. So I am going to start doing trade missions to Mexico, because actually, as Antonio's trade missions, there's nothing like a trade mission and giving the chance to the realtors, to the buyers, to everyone to live the experience. So I'm organizing a trade mission to Puerto Vallarta mid-September, so I'll keep you posted.
Of 2027 or 2026?
No, this year. Yes. And I'm planning on staying a month on each city, because even though I'm from Mexico City, I don't even know where to move. So I'm going to stay like a month in different cities in Mexico, just to really make sure, pick the place where I want to be. But congratulations, everyone. And I love being CIPS and this environment. And thank you, Marcia, again.
Keep us posted on your travels, Nora, because maybe some of us will catch up with you along the way, right?
Yeah.
It's always great to be with local and people who can literally speak the language.
Exactly.
Because,
and especially Mexico, which, it's... some people are afraid to go, so it's always good to go with someone that knows.
Yeah, terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this has been it's been a great session for me personally. I, again, can't thank you, Alex, enough for agreeing to enlighten us on your new venture, which I know that it's already taking off with great success. So, and I wish you that continued success and continued collaboration. But please let us give you the opportunity. Will you do me a favor and put up your screen that has your QR code so people can connect? Yeah. I think you still have Sherry.
Oh, let me see. Oh, yeah, I got it here. Yeah.
Do you have it on the bottom? Deanna, does Alex still have sharing capability? Maybe I.
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, there we go.
I figured it out.
Yeah, because Alex has a great website. It's concise, and most importantly, it has a registration form on it. So you will be connected. You'll go right into his database, which is huge to stay connected with this amazing gentleman. So I'm just so appreciative of, like I said, of you agreeing to be here with us today. And I know everybody on this call has gotten at least one nugget, if not a whole meal, out of this conversation today. So, any parting words for us, Alex?
No, just once again, super thankful to have been invited to this. I'd love to stay in touch. And as I was taking some notes of everything that everyone was saying, I feel like the closing statement for me would be that we gotta remember that, global success is not about being everywhere. It's not about going everywhere. It's about, like Antonio mentioned, showing up in the right places with the right partners and in a way that actually works locally. So that's what I would leave it at. And if you guys are in this virtual room, that means that you're in the right path. That is for sure.
And much to what Bill had alluded to, the fact that we're seeing a lot of these resources are starting to diminish for us, that it's up to us to pick up the, you would use the expression before, whose flag? Well, we better pick up those flags and start really parading around our value in that global marketplace and bring those specific countries and regions that we have knowledge of and can bring the right people to the table, because without that, we'll be much like, at one point in time, Poland had licensed real estate professionals. That went away. So we can't just assume that these things are going to be there for us forever. And we're seeing a lot of budgetary constraints at local, state, national, and I'm sure internationally at different associations. So it's incumbent upon us to continue to learn, get on those planes, as Shirley was saying, interact, stay connected with people like this. And with that, I thank you all for being here today.